Okay, so we've had a little difficulty connecting with each other online, so I decided to put together this short video to explain a few of my favorite community building tools. Please bear in mind that we can discuss the contents of here in detail when we're able to connect. But for now, I wanted to provide you with a few basic ideas and concepts about building community in your online classroom. So in doing so, I'll be drawing a link to Conrad and Davidson's Phases of Learner Engagement. And just so you know where we're going, I'll review those real quickly. The first phase is basically the learner's the newcomer, and the instructor is the social negotiator, basically trying to acclimate, orient students into the class and to each other and to the course. Um, Second phase, the learner is more of a cooperator, instructor is more of a structural engineer. Um, this happens around week 3 and 4. Instructor puts students in pairs where they work. Students work together in activities, in reflective activities and critical thinking activities, and they share ideas, do peer reviews. Other example would be critiquing a particular activity that they've done and providing feedback. Um, the third phase, learners a collaborator, instructor is more of a facilitator. This happens around week 5 or 6. Um, the instructor provides activities that require small groups um, to collaborate and solve problems. And then the last phase, phase 4, learner is more of an initiator, whereas the instructor takes more of a community member role. This happens from about week 7 on to your last week of class. This phase is where learners design activities and lead discussions, for example, and present projects, and learners facilitate discussions. So um, the three the three community building activities will come from the first 3 phases. Um, the first phase, as I mentioned, is the introductory phase. Um, they need to break the ice somehow to make newcomers feel welcome and feel comfortable to the course and with you and with those whom they'll be learning with. So this, however, I want to point out is probably one of the most important activities you'll do. This phase should take about 1 to 2 weeks, and please do not, I repeat, do not rush through or diminish the importance of this initial phase. That said, you'll want to select a few activities that will allow learners to feel comfortable with each other and to feel accepted, respected, and supported. Here, you as instructor will provide your expectations to students as well as an orientation to the course. So a quick checklist from Conrad and Davidson for an effective icebreaker is it needs to be fun and non-threatening, person-focused, not content-focused. It needs to require learners to read one another's entries. It needs to require learners to find something in common with at least 10% of the learning community. It needs to require students to be imaginative or express genuine emotion or openness, and require them to respond to one another. So one of my favorite phase 1 community building tools is the snowball activity. This exercise basically begins with one person entering some basic information about themselves, which can include personal interests, background, educational or career goals. From here, a second person provides information about him or herself while commenting on one thing they found in common with the first or previous person. A third person then repeats this process, followed by the rest of the class, resulting in a snowball effect of students engaging with each other in ways that allowed them to connect with each other's common interests and things they hold in common. One caution is that with a very large group, that snowball can turn into an avalanche. So it is recommended that this activity be limited to groups no more than 10. And for this activity, students may opt to posting their introductions on YouTube or other webcasting sites. So the next activity follows phase 2, where students work in pairs. After they've established a appropriate climate for engagement, you may move into this phase where students begin more academic exchanges. In this phase, students will be working in pairs or in dyads in activities that involve critical thinking, reflection, and sharing of ideas. Some examples of these activities may involve peer reviews of submitted work and provide critical feedback for an activity. So a checklist for an effective peer partnership activity would involve one, the activity must be academically oriented. It should be content focused. It should require learners to read one another's entries and require peers to express what they agreed with or liked about each other's work and what they would improve about each other's work. One of my favorite Phase 2 community building tools is called the Contest of the Week. And this activity uh, works best as a blog. Students work together with a partner to gather additional information related to a topic of the course. This can be assigned on a weekly or a periodic basis. And together the pairs will locate a website or a few websites of a national organization that relates to the topic. This group will then post their URL of each organization as well as provide a brief description of the organization. A second contest could be to identify a celebrity or politician or renowned citizen activist whose name is associated with the organization. This activity can be used um, on a weekly or periodic basis um, and varied according to topic. To increase engagement and to make sure that students are actually reading the postings, you'll want to be sure to require students not post a duplicate description of a previously posted organization. For example, you may require students to post a comment or a reflection of, say, 4 to 5 postings. So the last activity follows the phase 3, where students work in groups, and this follows after they've completed the paired partner activities. The next this next phase involves them combining involves the combining of the groups, the paired groups, into larger groups or teams. But one thing you want to keep in mind is if two students didn't work well together, you may choose to assign pairs to different groups. But if they do, by all means, keep them together and allow pairs to continue developing their collaboration. So a checklist for this phase or an effective team activity would be the activity must consist of more than just questions and answers. It should be content focused. It should require learners to respond to each other and build on one another's thoughts. It should require team members to demonstrate critical thinking. It should require them to produce a synthesized response or an end product. And individual team members must be held accountable for their contributions to the discussion or project. So one of my favorite Phase 3 community building tools is called a structured discussion activity. Like the previous, we will be using a blog. Um, In this exercise, each group member will submit a commentary that supports at least one point presented and a comment that refutes at least one point presented in a selection of assigned readings, media, or other instructional materials. Students will need to demonstrate their reasoning and rationale for their comments and positions taken. To increase engagement, you'll want to require the students comment on postings from other groups. Evaluations can be separated as well, with score attached to supportive comments, to the refuting comments, and to finally for the comments to other group member posts. So this concludes my short description of community building tools. I hope that from viewing this presentation you'll have gained a few ideas about how to effectively engage your online students. So best of luck to you, and I hope we can connect sometime in the near future.